Boxing King Media in association with Boxer. Delighted to have with me promoter Ben Shalom. Ben, it's finally here. Fight week. Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr. 2. How you feeling?
It feels like we promoted this fight 5-6 times. Obviously delighted to be here, finally. And both fighters have had to do a lot of work to be here. I think Chris had a really tough time before the fight in January, and then it felt like it was happening all over again for him with the postponed date. But Liam's worked really hard. I think at that stage of your career, you're almost worried, is this an injury that's going to retire a fighter, especially when they hit 34, 35, but he's worked so hard. And in the end, he knew what he was doing and he knew what the injury was. And we're here, September the 2nd. We're close. It's been tough. But I felt we always knew the fight was going to happen. It was a matter of when. And fair play to Chris, because he did have other options and he did have bigger money options, but he's decided that he wanted to avenge his loss and he wanted this fight, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Was there any moment where you thought this fight is not going to happen?
Only whether the severity of Liam's injury was going to keep him out. I knew it was the fight that Chris wanted. I knew it was the fight that Liam wanted. And when both fighters want to fight, that it usually happens, and that was always the intention. As soon as a rematch was activated, way back in February now. But yeah, credit to both fighters, worked incredibly hard. I think they're both coming in better than they were in January, particularly in Chris's case, where I think he had the weight cut and a long time out and in and out of camps and changing camps and whatever went on. I think the amount of preparation he's had, the amount of focus, it's a different level of intensity. I think we're going to see the fight that we probably thought we'd see the first time. I really believe that Chris will be better conditioned and ready to go. I still make Liam the slight favourite. I always did. But I think Chris is so determined this time that we're going to see a hell of a fight.
I mean, if Chris does pull it off, is there anything in the contract that suggests that there could be a trilogy?
No. This is it. This is the rematch. This was a clause that Chris had in his fight the first time. I think he knew Liam Smith was a big fight. I think Wasserman certainly did, and that's what this is. So we'll see after the fight. I think both fighters are convinced they're going to win. Liam Smith wants to become a 2-time world champion. I think he feels now comfortable at middleweight. I think that's where he'll stay. So excited to see what can happen for him, but equally Chris has other ideas. I think for Liam Smith, as much as he's already won one, at this stage of his career with his ambition, it's also a must-win. So as much as Chris has got everything to prove, it's a fight that Liam Smith has to win as well, and I think that's what makes it so special.
Tickets, I believe only a few left for Saturday night?
Yeah, I think there's some left on Platinum, but it's weird looking back to the first fight. I think when we first announced it, this was Liam Smith's first pay-per-view fight in the UK, and maybe out the bat it was a big sell. It was a big sell, but this time, especially with Liam Smith's victory and his elevated status, I think the casual fan now has seen what every boxing fan knew and saw what a top quality fighter Liam Smith was on that night. And it's a massive fight. It's a must win for Chris Eubank Jr. And I can't wait.
I know Adam Azim has been kind of headlining his own shows, but it's also a great opportunity for him to be the chief support on a pay-per-view event. Yeah,
with the activity that he had, it almost, him even getting a slight injury feels like he's been gone a while. That's how the pace that he was moving at. But yeah, obviously delighted to have him. It is a tough fight. Aaron Fanian is no joke. He's coming to win. We know that from his team. We know his team well, who are coming over from Ukraine actually, and this is their big moment. And Adam's going to have to be very focused. The focus is to make sure he's European champion by the end of the year. And we know how quickly he wants to become a world champion. That sometimes as a promoter, you're almost battling with a fighter that wants to do things that no other fighter's done before. He wants to move extremely quickly. This is a huge stage for him to show how good he is. I think that Santos Reyes fight for me was a fight that, although we didn't get the knockout in the first couple of rounds that we're used to, was a fight where he showed composure, showed with a hand that was hurting under the lights, and went the full 10 rounds and felt comfortable. And that's what you want to see from a 19-year-old at the time, now a 20-year-old. You want to see a guy that feels comfortable under those bright lights, that feels like he can headline. And once he ticked that box, we know how talented he is. So yeah, huge night for him.
Frazer Clarke, Dave Allen. I spoke to Frazer today because there were some comments made that he mentally wasn't in the right frame of mind after the whole Fabio Wardy kind of situation that took place, and he replied back and said, people are talking shit, and for 1 or 2 days I probably wasn't there, but I'm absolutely fine and on course to achieve what he wants, which is the British title eventually.
Yeah, look, he's a proud man, and so when he is people, especially when he's not used to it, that level of scrutiny is something that's good for him and he'll get used to, especially in that heavyweight division. You see the stuff that Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua and Dillian White have had to go through over the years, the ups, the downs, the scrutiny, the craziness. Boxing fans are unforgiving, and they love to turn the screw, and they love to hate a lot of the time. And that was for me a great learning curve for Frazer. He's fought twice since that. Well, he's about to fight, sorry, for the second time, but he'll fought twice since that date. Fabio's, we'll see what happens, still hasn't fought. Whatever will happen there, but we're comfortable with our decision. We're happy with our decision. He's fought Marius Wack. He got rounds that we wanted. He got the 10 rounds. He'll now fight Dave Allen. And speaking to Jamie Moore in the gym today, this is a Dave Allen that feels fitter than he has felt in 5 years. So that's a good fighter, and that's a guy that's going to give Frazer his biggest profile fight to date. And a big fight, and you can see with the attention that's getting, it's a fight that Frazer's excited to be involved in, but it's a fight where there's pressure, because he needs to show his level. He needs to show why we believe he can go all the way, and he'll want to show that on Saturday night.
Ben Whittaker was originally part of the show. I spoke to some members of his team and said he had a hand injury, so is that going to keep him out for long?
No, only slight. He'll announce his next fight actually on Saturday night, so looking forward to having him down. Obviously, the 6 months he was out, that guy's going to be a superstar. He's a unbelievable talent, but also a crossover star for us. It's just about getting him active, getting him fighting every couple of months. As I say, the 6 months out was frustrating, but this is a minor thing, and yeah, excited for him to get going and excited to build him and in Birmingham and Wolverhampton, and that is a journey that, you know, when you look at the stars, I've said it before, you see the stars coming to the end, you see the Kell Brooks, the Anthony Joshuas, and you're looking at the next generation. And yes, there's Adam Azim, Caroline Dubois starting to show promise of being superstars, but Ben Whittaker's going to be an absolute superstar, and can't wait.
Okay, well, we look forward to a great show on Saturday Night Live and exclusively on Sky Sports pay-per-view. Ben, just some other topics obviously floating around in boxing. Just want to go back a couple of weeks. The whole Riakporhe and Jay Opataya kind of perspective. I know we touched on it during the Buatsi Aziz presser, but there were a lot of comments made from the other side about you, and I just want to read a couple of comments. Just, listen, I want to give you the opportunity to reply if you want to. If you don't, we don't have to reply, but some of these comments were that you were clueless, you're out your depth, and you're probably in the wrong business.
I've had that since I was 23 years old when I got my promoter's license. I think, building a business in an established industry where players don't want you to be is hard enough. Doing it in the public eye is harder. To be where we are, people forget perhaps where we've come from, all the time having to prove ourselves. Small hall, tournaments, 5 Spike, BT Sport, ITV4. We've had to work for everything we've got, and sometimes I think it's easy for that to be overlooked by people that haven't necessarily had to walk in those shoes. And I don't want to get into the back and forth. I see it between all the other promoters. I'm not the only promoter that has things thrown at them, even in recent times, and it's to be expected. I've had it every single week now. I take it as a compliment. All we can do is focus on getting better every time. I look at our next 3 fight cards. I look at the Eubank Smith card, one of the best cards we've ever put on. Buatsi Aziz card is going to be enormous at the O2. Caroline Dubois, Vidal Riley, Callum Simpson on the breakthrough show as well in some really big fights, and that's our focus. We don't want to get in the back and forth. I don't think it helps. I've said it before. I don't think it helps the sport. I know it seems to be something that's accepted these days, but I can't see how it's helpful. But yeah, flattered that we're even in this position, and it's to be expected at this point. And yeah, I don't want to go back and forth.
Does it bother you though?
It bothers me that it seems to be a business. How do I put it? It seems to be part of the business plan of certain promotional organisations to slay other promotional organisations, whether that's people being too old or people being this or that or out of their depth, or it just sometimes a little bit classless. And so that's what bothers me, but bothers me personally, absolutely not. I'm blessed and grateful to be in this position. Yes, it comes with a lot of scrutiny, as any position does. But yeah, I'm really proud to see where we've got to. And as I say, it's early days. I'm still in my 20s. We've worked so hard to be here. People only see the tip of an iceberg. They don't see what you've had to go through every single day for a lot longer than people have seen me on camera. And yeah, just blessed and grateful to be in this position.
In terms of Richard Riakporhe, then what is next for him? I saw some comments online. Not sure how accurate they were from Gulamarian to say that you have made him an offer. He's got some legal stuff going on in the background, but he looks like he wants that fight. So is that going to be the next fight for Richard?
Look, I don't think he actually said we'd made him an offer, but I'm not going to talk on a fight until it's announced. Yeah, Richard's someone we've worked closely with for a long time now. I think when we signed him, he'd been out the ring 2 years. We are very close to him. We've gotten to the number one in 2 organisations. He's in the mandatory position for Chris Billam-Smith's world title in the WBO, and it's going to take a good deal to take him away from that. And ultimately, we'll have an announcement in the next 2 weeks. But this is a fighter that we have built, that we feel strongly about, which we feel can go right to the very top, not just to the cruiserweight division, but the heavyweight division. And we're going to do what's right for him, not what people want us to do or think they should do, who don't care about his career, who don't care how much about where he fights and how much he earns. And when he's in a position as strong as him, that he has earned, where he has a pick of different situations and different world title opportunities, then he's going to make the right decision for him.
Just going back to, obviously, J.L. Pataya, he now fights Jordan Thompson on September 3rd, same day as the York Hall show, right? You've then got Show Butsy, which is also another clash with Jack Catterall. How many more shows are we expecting from Boxer this year?
Quite a few. I think our next 3 shows I'm really excited about. But yeah, quite a few. We want to avoid clashes. We don't want the clashes. I think, unfortunately, there's so much boxing that you're just not going to avoid it. I've said it a few times. We do speak with Queensberry, and there is that communication, and we do try and avoid dates. And actually, thankfully to them, and thank you to George Warren, he actually cleared September the 2nd for us, where we were going to clash, because we explained that we needed to go there for Smith Eubank. So he is that's where communication helps. That's where all these back and forth I don't think help. If we can avoid it, we will. But it takes all parties to want to do that.
Did you see the Misfits press conference last week?
I saw clips.
Not a fan?
I don't watch it. It's not what I'm interested in, but I've got nothing against it. I think now it's clear. I think there was a time where people were getting confused as to whether it was boxing. I think it's clear now what it is. But it does big numbers, and fair enough, fair play.
Going back to the weekend, Daniel Dubois, tough task against Alexander Usyk. Surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but a lot of people are split. I spoke to Jamie Moore. He says, that it kind of was low. Then Frot says it was low. Then other fighters say it wasn't low. What's your kind of opinion on it?
I think the fact that it's still splitting opinions shows how close that call was. Daniel will feel that he was so close to it because you have to argue maybe a different location, different referee. Maybe that low blow doesn't get called. It was a split decision that he made, a split decision that changes the course of the fight. It probably was the right call, and I don't think you can use it I don't think it should be used as, if it wasn't for that, Daniel Dubois would now be, a world champion, a heavyweight world champion. I think for me, it was a very close call. It went against Daniel. He'll feel unfortunate. He'll feel unlucky. It probably was the right call. But as I say, on another day, the referee might not give that. And Daniel Dubois looked like he was poised to become world champion.
I mean, we know Usyk's a tricky customer. Don Charles made some comments after the fight suggesting that, Usyk cheated, suggested that, what he did in terms of lying almost, that it was a low blow. He was comparing that to someone taking drugs and performance enhancing. Do you think that was just raw emotion?
Emotions run high. This is everything a trainer works for, everything a fighter works for so long, and to be that close, and they probably have very strong arguments as to why they feel it wasn't a low blow. I believe from looking at the rules and really looking into it and understanding it, you can see why a low blow, why that decision was made. But in the heat of the moment, these things happen. That's why we love the sport. I think Don Charles is a great character in the sport, and I think Daniel Dubois is a young fighter who puts up with a lot of stick, but again, that's the fans and that's the world that we live in, and he should be proud, in my opinion, of his performance. I thought he did well. He went 9 rounds in the lion's den, literally, and yeah, he should be really proud of his performance. Hopefully that gives him a lot of confidence that he can hurt the very best, and with a little more activity and a little more development, he could be a very, very good fighter.
Just finally, a topic that I'm sick of tired of asking about over the last kind of 10, 11 months about PEDs in boxing. More recently, we saw Robert Helenius fail the VADA test, clomiphene, Elisa Baumgartner, also adverse finding. From a promoter's perspective, because it's something that we were all talking about when we were in Poland a couple of days ago with a lot of journalists, is Robert Helenius' test that he failed was taken the day before the fight. The result of that wasn't known till 10 days maybe after. Are there protocols and processes available where if a test is done on a Friday, that the result can be given before the fight actually takes place? Or is that just too expensive?
The purpose of testing before a fight is to make sure a fight doesn't go ahead with a boxer that's on banned substances. So that needs to be looked at, because that's why we do it. However, there are difficulties, there are implications. I think for the very biggest fights that should be done. I don't know when people actually found out versus when it came out. It's hard to know in those situations. Or what is clear is that there is a huge problem in the sport, and I think people have known that for a long time, and it's becoming more and more obvious. And yes, in one way it's good that people are getting caught, but in another way it's showing how prevalent it is. And as the main thing I worry about is the fighters now that have genuine concerns every time they get in the ring that their opponent might be cheating. And I know that from speaking to my stable. I know that with the young guys that we're developing, that is a genuine concern. And so, yeah, we've all know what the solution is. There needs to be a uniform body. There needs to be a global body that deals with these issues, and it needs to tighten up. And whether that has to come from the promoter's pocket or a mixture of the promoters and the authorities, then it has to happen. But it's becoming almost like a sick joke, isn't it? But the fact is, if these tests were around and this rigorous, and they're still not enough, but 15, 20 years ago, the sad thing is, would we have had many fighters that we looked up to also failing tests? It's sad. It needs to be stamped out. It's good that it's coming to the surface now, but I think action is needed very, very soon.
Okay, Ben, it is the beginning of fight week. We've got the public workout tomorrow open to obviously the public. Thursday presser, Friday weigh-in, also open to the public. Roll on Saturday fight night.